A lot of games die because they're too complex. Other games die because they're not rich enough to sustain play over a series of years. Magic is at this sweet spot where it's easy enough to get into, but dynamic enough that it can reinvent itself successfully from year to year, and I think that's at the core of what makes Magic such a good game. Like you said, the advantage of esports is that unlike regular sports, you know, when you're watching a game that's super fun and exciting, you can get out and actually play that game. I think that's added value. You know, if there was a low barrier of entry to football, or if you could go out and have a 5-on-5 basketball team, I think more people would do that. But the great thing about a game is not only can you be entertained as you're watching it, not only can you dive into the strategy, the players, the tactics, the dynamism of what's going on screen, but you yourself, with a very low barrier to entry and a very low cost, can be a participant yourself. And so I think that's just, you know, naturally, if you see people having fun and enjoying themselves, you see them playing a game that's incredibly interesting to you, it's naturally to want to go do that. I think the same desire exists in sports, but the barrier to entry is so much lower that it's really in many ways just all upside compared to traditional sports.
I think there's almost an unlimited amount of ways that esports can go about becoming quote-unquote mainstream. I think that's not necessarily one of the things that people usually think about, which is getting on TV. I feel like TV, while it is a great medium for a lot of different things, something like gaming, for example, it may not have the best audience there because that audience is all going to be online. So it's kind of interesting to watch how the games have changed online over time, and every genre of game has a different way of going about it. StarCraft, for example, has leagues that go on for years. And basically new major tournaments almost every month, whereas something like League of Legends will have huge tournaments that are getting tons and tons of viewers. There's big cash prizes, and the production value is really good. So I think increasing production value, as much money as there can be, and just trying to get as many people excited about the game as possible.
At a BlizzCon, I watched, maybe it was a world tournament for StarCraft. It was the most amazing thing. People were jumping out of their seats, screaming. The commentator was like, "I haven't seen this play in 6 years." He was like covering his like minefield, and so all these hydralisks ran into it. Very specific nerd StarCraft terms, but it was amazing. Like, it was like a football. It was like a football game. Well, American football. Is this going in England?
I think the gaming industry really does benefit from working with YouTubers, because YouTube is where all of the views are. More people watch videos on the internet than they watch television. So working with YouTubers and people that everyone that can be related to is perfect, and I think you guys are on the right track here.
I think it's like sometimes when you play a video game, you think like, oh, it's kind of like I'm in a movie right now. But like, not everybody's internal dialogue is that interesting. But when you like talk to insane people like Jesse and myself, our inner dialogue it's pretty spot on.
Clinically insane. Thank you. No, I think it has to do with the fact that a lot of people don't have the time or money to get the game, and then they get to see that for free, but then they also get to see us fumble through it and discover things, and then make our way from being awful at it to completing the game.
They like giving tips too. People really like, it's kind of like interactive. Like if you make a mistake, you'll get 100 comments that say you need to go back to X and do Y and Z. So it feels a little more interactive as well.
I think the reason why more people are watching other people play video games is because it's becoming part of entertainment. You know, it's a sporting event in a way. I remember being a kid and watching, you know, the second player or the first player play a game when you're doing like a two-player game, and trying to see, well, what strategy do they do, and then going home and trying, and then be like, I'm ready now, I'm gonna challenge you. So it's like that on a grand scale. I mean, you see it with sports, so it's kind of in the same mode. So I can totally see fans, you know, stars of certain games and things like that, like fighting games or Magic games or any of that kind of stuff. So it's just a natural evolution.